Hey, this is Al Parker with Canoe Creation. My grandnieces call me Uncle Owl, so you can call me that if you want to. Here we are, middle of May. We've missed all of the early amazing wildflowers, but we still have quite a few that are coming down. Those of you in Ohio ought to know this one. It's the buckeye. Look at those goofy looking flowers. They look like a little fat mouth with two red eyes poking up above it. And of course the five-leafed leaflets of a buckeye. So tree flowers are important as well as some of the wildflowers we're going to look at today. Springtime's a great time to get out and look at what's coming on. The world's just beginning to explode. The explosion's about to happen. Within a couple of weeks, there'll be solid leaves everywhere. It's pretty amazing. Right here we have, hanging out over the water, flowers of the buckeye again. Dainty with fine, hairy, feathery looking petals is daisy fleabane. And one thing you don't usually pay attention to, but grass has flowers too. Okay, here's a kind of brownish green head, and then here's another one just emerging, just now coming out. So grasses have different kinds of flowers, and they come on in different seasons. A little guy called Star of Bethlehem. It has 6 petals, and their parts are in 3s and 6s. So you know it's probably in one particular family called the lily family. You can see how they look when they're first coming out. They've got kind of a grass-like blade. When the flowers are just coming out, they really stand out. They got the white stripes on the sides of them. On this field, then we have another really gorgeous patch of bluets. Spend time looking in weedy places and forests and shrubby, thickety kind of places. You'll be surprised what you can find. Most of the time we think of these things as weeds, but a weed is really just something that it's growing where you don't want it to be. Here's a little tiny guy out in the middle of a pasture, a hayfield. Looks rather colored like a buttercup, but it doesn't have the shine of a buttercup. But then look at the leaf. It has 5 leaflets on it. And the French word for 5 is cinque, and leaf is foil, so this is cinquefoil. Oh, here's another one, a clump of winter cress. It's kind of shiny leaves and 4-petaled flowers. Okay, that's usually an indicator. If it's got 4-petaled flowers and then has pods, long kind of, they turn into this little skinny pods, it usually means it's a mustard of some sort. Something in the cabbage and the mustard family. These guys have a big winter rosette of leaves usually. They're done now, but they have that indicates them in the winter. It's an edible green, and that's why it's got the name winter cress. And if we look just over here, we still have some leftover spring beauties. They're pretty much finished. You can see they're on their last flower. See the whole string of them that came out and finished blooming and has going to seed now. And the very last ones on the end of the stalks are still flowering. Teeny tiny, don't know if you can even see it. This wee little guy here, very tiny little blue flower. I don't think I can even focus in on it close enough. Just absolutely amazing the variety of flowers that you have. And if we just look right over here, we've got speedwells coming up. Another little individual of belly botany. 4 petals, 2 really pronounced anthers of the male parts, and they're the little pollen heads. And usually has 3 petals of one color and 1 petal of another. Golden ragwort still hanging on, one of the tall spring flowers of the forest. Some little blue phlox. Actually kind of a violet color, but called blue phlox. Notice the little notches on the ends of the petals. One of our spring wildflowers. plant I like to call twosies because the flowers come in two little bunches, and they come up out of opposite branched leaves. But it's called, of all things, corn salad. White violets, which is kind of a weird name because it's not violet, it's white. Comes in yellow as well as violet. Here's another thing. Little fine, tiny flowers on it in this compound leaf. And if you crush the leaf, it smells like licorice. So it's called sweet Sicily. A really weird guy. You wouldn't even think of it as a flower, but it is. Here you have Jack in the Pulpit, kind of like a Jack in the Box, with this strange looking flower. With a little, it's called a spathe and a spadix, the way this thing's put together. Beautiful looking little thing, really funky. These 3 leaves to it, and then your Jack in the Pulpit. Another one hiding over here. The spring wildflowers, you can tell before it flowers, is this guy, water leaf, because it looks like it has water spots. The later leaves that come up don't have anything, and oh look, fuzzy stem, and there's a little flower bud just thinking about doing this thing. And look at this glorious thing right next door. Looks like a violet with a long pointed hood or hat on the back. Okay, then these kind of the leaf that's finally divided into a big spray like that. This is larkspur. What a fantastic looking wildflower. And here we have wild geranium. Okay, it's got a spread out leaf. You might think of it as something like the larkspur we just saw, a very different flower. And it will have a stalk, or the seed will have a long skinny nose on it. Looks like a long beak of a heron or something like that. And for that reason, many of the geraniums are called cranes. This guy, fun name to say. This is root anemone. Can't say anemone fast. 5 times. Okay, here we have just one single little guy, but these really thick, fleshy leaves on it. And then you see the star-like flower coming out, and then these wands of flowers that are going to be here a little later. This is wild stonecrop. And our little patch of wild ginger, real distinct looking leaves, heart-shaped with smooth edges, no teeth, and kind of fuzzy stems. But look at the flower. It lays right on the ground. This little teeny 3-petaled funky thing that lays on the ground and is pollinated by beetles. So that's why it's down there. You pull the root. Here's a couple more flowers here. The root of this guy smells just like ginger, and that's why it got its name. Here's a glory of spring. This is the showy trillium. It's a rather small one. As they come out pure white, and then as they age, they start to pinkify a little bit. And here you can see one that's totally gone pink, although the petals are kind of shriveling up a little bit. It's getting tired. Flowers of a crabapple just beginning to show itself. You can see one really opening up right over there. All that pink on it. Look at this gorgeous guy here. Gigantic flowers on them. All come out white. And there goes my dog. It's a flowering dogwood. You see how I got that name. Absolutely beautiful flowers. It's also the one that supposedly legend has it was a giant forest tree before the wood was used for the cross of Jesus, and then it became a stunted little thing and had these flowers with crosses and white blood stains on each of the 4 petals.